One of the best aspects of adapting Spider-Man to the big screen is the web swinging. Whether it be graceful and epic like Tobey Maguire's Spidey, or fast and electric like Andrew. Seeing Spidey whirl, jump, and thwip around is one of the many highlights of a movie based on the character. There's only one itsy bitsy problem. Tom Holland's Spider-Man, the MCU version, well,
I'm good.
Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, I'm Bradley and welcome to Zlangle. Don't get me wrong, there's been a plethora of incredible MCU Spider-Man moments throughout the films. But let's be real, the swinging scenes have been lacking. And in this video, I'm not referring to action scenes or fight moves, nor am I even discussing the quality of the films themselves. This is all about the swinging. So we're going to take a look at the past movies, from 2002 onward. If you want me to take a deeper look at the 70s and Japanese versions, that's for another video, and what they were able to accomplish in the niche genre of web swinging. And also look forward to Brand New Day and what might be in store for us in July. 2002. The first Spider-Man film took the world by storm, and it never really was the same since. When you saw Peter become Spider-Man, it was like a dream, a heightened reality, and the swinging was so powerful, yet also an incredibly graceful dance through the air. Now, I'll admit, I'm biased when it came to Raimi's trilogy because it was what I grew up on, but this absolutely holds up to anything they've done recently with the old webhead. His movements were so purposeful, but there were plenty of moments of quick reflexes taking over and physical improvisation when encountering obstacles in the city. The camera work was extraordinary, and gave the perfect opportunities for showing off the elegance while also telling the story in the way Raimi needed to. And by the way, Sam Raimi actually used a special rig that flew the camera up between and through buildings to capture real footage of the city, and the movement of the audience's perspective, in which they added Spider-Man later in post. Spectacular. It also can't be overstated how tactile it all felt. I always felt like I was there moving with him, and feeling the lurches and G-force as he kicked off buildings. And fell dozens of stories. Speaking of falling dozens of stories, this scene in particular is especially great. Him saving Gwen Stacy, played by the incomparable Bryce Dallas Howard. The way Spidey dodges debris and kicks off falling chunks of concrete, and actually catches Gwen instead of just shooting a web at her. Unlike some people. Oh, sorry. And don't even get me started on how it felt to see him don the black symbiote suit. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man totally spoiled us as an audience as to what to expect in upcoming incarnations. And while the 2012 reboot The Amazing Spider-Man had a lot to live up to, it did its own thing instead of trying to replicate Raimi's style, which I admire. In the first of the Amazing duology, the director Mark Webb really wanted to film the swinging practically, with actual stunt performers as opposed to relying on a CG Spider-Man in the swinging scenes. I suppose to make it more grounded and realistic after the previous trilogy's heightened stylistic movements. And while it was a little underwhelming at first, especially in the sequence under the overpass, in my opinion, it definitely improved by the end of the movie. The real standout from The Amazing Spider-Man 1, however, was the first-person perspective. I can't believe they cut out most of it from the finished cut, but in the original teaser it was a whole 30 seconds of a POV shot as you parkour around on rooftops and leap off the side of the building, making your stomach drop as you fall. This was the single most innovative element the Amazing Spider-Man films brought to web swinging, and it set itself apart from anything that had come before or would come since. 2014, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Many claim this is the best swinging we've ever gotten from Spidey, and while I prefer Raimi's sensibilities, I certainly see where they're coming from. The kinetic movements are impossible not to appreciate, the tricks and twirls indicating he's been at this for a few years now and knows what he's doing. Now, they completely abandoned the practical methods. This is almost entirely CGI, but obviously the results speak for themselves. This opening sequence especially makes the character seem like he leaped right out of the pages of Marvel Comics, and it's earned its status as some of the best swinging ever put to film. Now we enter the Marvel Cinematic Universe era of Spider-Man. Sony, who owned the movie rights, made a deal with Marvel Studios to reboot Spidey and merge him into the existing MCU. Therefore, another reboot.
Hey everyone.
I remember how ecstatic I was when I heard the news. I could imagine all the amazing sequences Marvel would bring to live action. And of course, Marvel had a pretty great track record of their action scenes. And for Spider-Man's first appearance, Captain America Civil War, it was pitch perfect. I mean, look at this. Spider-Man swinging around Giant Man to trip him like an AT-AT. No notes. But then the home trilogy began. Homecoming was a bit of a disappointing entry in this regard. There was really only one scene that showcased Holland's Spider-Man's web swinging, this part where he goes around helping the neighborhood. It was fine, serviceable, but in my opinion, the bare minimum in terms of what can be accomplished both with modern VFX technology and the creativity at Marvel's disposal. And Far From Home isn't much better. He's out of his element, on a field trip to Europe instead of his jungle gym of a hometown, and even out of his costume for most of it. But we finally have the return of the famous trope of having a final swing at the end of the film to leave the audience with a feeling of thrilling satisfaction. And to its credit, it was different from Maguire and Garfield's. Adding a phone to the mix and trying to text MJ and send selfies mid-swing was a funny way to modernize it a little bit. And the armpit web gliders are cool in moderation, something that was added to the PS5 Spider-Man 2 game as well. What I liked most out of that final scene though was him taking up MJ for a spin. In the original Spider-Man trilogy, and even on the poster, Peter carrying MJ was so sweet and graceful. It's hilarious to look at how it would actually probably play out if you were holding onto someone while zooming through New York hundreds of feet in the air with zero safety net. Lastly, No Way Home. The legendary film fans could barely even bring themselves to hope for years ago. And it gave us everything we could ask for and more, bringing together all three live-action theatrical Spider-Mans. But after the dust of the plot settles, Peter is back to basics, small apartment, no more Stark tech, and making his own suit in web shooters. And we get this final swing. I will say, it sorta has a magical feel to it. The camera following him around in one shot as he takes his time and enjoys the snowy Christmas setting. Though I'd argue the magical feeling might mostly be contributed to Marvel Studios failing up to that point to give us a dedicated scene showing off Spider-Man's web skills. We were starved for sequences such as this in the trilogy, to really feel like Spider-Man, to be in his shoes, see the city through his eyes. Speaking of seeing through his eyes, Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm extremely confident that the director, Dustin Daniel Cretton, is going to give all Spidey films of the past a run for their money. I sense he's going to give us that tactile feel, even with just how his costume's wrinkles ripple in the wind, something Andrew Garfield had in TASM 2 as well. There's also the grand, epic cinematic qualities that Tobey's films exhibited, even when he's flopping around uncontrollably with birds stuck to him, presumably trying to figure out his newfound organic webbing abilities. The visuals and colors are amazing, and everything Spider-Man should look like. Funnily enough, much of the action in Brand New Day is practical, with both stuntmen and Holland himself doing a lot of it. Now, there was a bit of a stir a while ago when John Watts, the director of the MCU Home Trilogy, came out and gave advice to the next director of Spider-Man, before Cretton had been hired. He said, "I have a very practical bit of Spider-Man advice, and I think every Spider-Man director goes through it. It doesn't look good when someone is just swinging on a rope. You think you're going to go in there, you're like, we're going to do it practical. We're going to get a stuntman. We're going to be swinging around. It's boring. It looks dumb. It looks like a monkey swinging on a vine when you put someone on just a rope. Don't waste your time." That's my advice to the next Spider-Man director. And with how some of the early stunt-oriented scenes of The Amazing Spider-Man looked, I would theoretically tend to agree. But not only do I have immense faith in Destin, but I think any method can work if done correctly. Watching the set videos and seeing clips of the final product, I'd say it was finally done correctly. And if this one trailer we have so far is any indication, as well as the high quality of his past work in Shang-Chi and American-Born Chinese, also a comic book adaptation by the way, I think that the new Spider-Man movie is finally bringing web-swinging back to the MCU in the way that it should be. And once again, give us a Spider-Man that leaps off the comic pages. Brand New Day indeed. Thanks for watching my reminiscence of Spider-Man's Thwip history, Thwipstory if you will. It was great fun going back and looking at all these scenes again. Bonus shout out for the quickly approaching Spider Noir, which has its own webbing scenes to look forward to. That's going to be a wild series and I'm here for it. Tell me in the comments, what is your favorite film when it comes to Spidey webbing around town? What's your least favorite? I'm curious to know. Until next time, upwards and onwards to greater glory.